Okay, if you are a regular viewer of my channel, then you'll know that my main focus has been Jujutsu Kaisen. However, Gege Akutami recently announced that due to my theories simply being too accurate, he is gonna end Jujutsu Kaisen very soon in the hopes that I will be plunged into a state of crippling unemployment. Fortunately though, I saw this coming months ago and decided to launch Operation One Piece. That's right, in a mere 6 months, I have watched/read the entirety of One Piece. Now, due to being very new to anime and manga, I realized that I needed to educate myself beyond just Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan, so I decided to start One Piece with 2 separate goals in mind. My first goal was to find a suitable replacement for Jujutsu Kaisen so that I can keep making videos for you all, and my second goal was simply to enjoy it, because after all, I'm not gonna make content on something that I have no passion for. Having now finished One Piece though, I can confirm that both of these goals have been achieved, because goddamn was it good. Now, before I start dropping random One Piece videos, I wanted to first make this video sharing my overall thoughts on the series. Consider it a sort of introductory video to start off my newfound passion for yapping about One Piece. As the thumbnail suggests though, I am going to be brutally honest. No mindless glaze, no mindless hate, just my genuine opinion of the story known as One Piece. So without any further yap, let's just get right into it. Now, the first thing I want to quickly discuss is the clear distinction between manga and anime. In terms of my personal preference, I will almost always favor anime massively over manga. It simply stimulates way more of your senses and makes it easier to connect with the characters, the world, and the story on a much deeper emotional level than just reading does. The accumulation of voice acting, bright colors, and music makes me become way more invested, and everything just hits so much harder. However, reading manga is still incredibly enjoyable, and there are definitely a few times where I would choose it over watching. Unfortunately for One Piece though, there were many times where I had to turn off the anime and choose instead to read the manga due to its god-awful pacing. I mean, sure, the animation quality has a rough start, but I can't really blame it because it's simply a product of its time. But it really did not need to be as painfully long as it was. Everybody does know this already though, so I'm not gonna go on about it for too long. However, pacing was definitely not the only thing that Toei fumbled. Like I said, early days animation being bad is completely understandable, but Dressrosa was animated and released in 2014, and I still think it looked so much worse than it probably could have done. I mean, Attack on Titan Season 1 aired a year before Dressrosa in 2013, and the difference in animation quality is literally night and day, so I see no real excuses for Toei here. Not to mention Toei's unnaturally unhealthy obsession with boobs and jiggle physics. I mean, I don't understand how this animation studio was gifted one of the most respected and well-written stories of all time just for them to put more effort into animating Robin's underboob than they do with pretty much any fight in the damn show. Oh, it actually just makes me want to punch something. Look, my point is that in many places the manga is better than the anime, but for a sensory learner like me, I will rarely be able to enjoy reading manga as much as I would enjoy watching a goated adaptation. So it really hurts knowing that I would probably love One Piece so much more than I already do if it had a banger adaptation, and I think the same applies to lots of other people as well. What I do know though is that if Wit Studio do One Piece as much justice as they did Attack on Titan, then it will quickly rise to top 3, maybe even top 2 status for me. To be clear though, even though it has lots of things to hate, there are many moments in Toei's adaptation that are absolute peak fiction. All of the Egghead arc has been amazing so far, but the one moment that always comes to mind is Luffy, Kid, and my goat Trafalgar Law facing off against 2 Yonkos. To be honest, it's probably my favorite fight in the whole series. Anyway, enough Toei slander, let's now actually discuss how good One Piece is as a story. Now, I am just one of those people who often favors badass side characters over the main character in pretty much anything I have ever watched or read. It takes something truly special for me to actually care for a main character all that much, simply because I always feel like the stakes are just way lower for them than the side characters who could get off-screened at literally any time. But very occasionally, I will encounter a main character that breaks that pattern and they actually become very interesting to me. Since chapter 1 of One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy solidified himself as one of those main characters. When he was first introduced, there was no tragic backstory, no crying, no self-doubt. He just had a massive smile and one singular focus: becoming king of the pirates. And that magic stays consistent throughout the entirety of the story. Time and time again, he saves and frees people across the world simply because that's what he wants to do, and yet he needs to constantly remind everyone that he is not a hero. It's this mindset and his joyful energy that makes him so lovable and easy to root for. Now, I won't lie and say that he's my favorite character in One Piece, but he is my favorite Straw Hat and easily solidified himself in the short list of main characters that I actually care for. And this list includes Yuji Itadori, Chihiro Rokuhira, Senku, the Elric brothers, and Yuta Okotsu. See, I can even sneak Yuta Glaze into a One Piece video. Fuck you. My point is that Luffy is a masterfully written main character who has definitely earned my respect forever. I think we should move on from Luffy now though and talk about his crew, the Straw Hat Pirates. Now this may sound confusing to you at first, but one of the main reasons that I love the Straw Hats is also one of the main things that I hate about One Piece in general. Yeah, I know I sound dumb as shit right now, but please just bear with me while I explain. Now every Straw Hat has a special role to play in Luffy's quest to become King of the Pirates. But what often goes overlooked is that they each have their own dreams to accomplish, with Luffy's Pirate King dream only being one of them. Zoro wants to become the world's greatest swordsman, Nami wants to draw a map of the world, Chopper wants to become the world's greatest doctor, Sanji wants to find the all blue and see boobs, Jimbei wants... okay, I don't really know what the fuck Jimbei wants, but you get the point. What makes them so lovable to me is that each Straw Hat doesn't have a crazy long and drawn out backstory to convince you to root for them. You're simply told what you need to know about their motivations, and then it's their actions throughout the story that make you root for them, just like with Luffy. I mean, sure, some of them do have a longer backstory, like Nico Robin, Sanji and Jimbei, which are shown via longer flashback arcs than the rest, but the flashbacks are efficient, impactful, and are sprinkled throughout the story at moments where it matters most, so they rarely feel drawn out. And then you have genius characters like Roronoa Zoro, who has the shortest and most simple backstory and motivation, yet he is the one that many people root for the most. Oda prefers to build our connection to Zoro via his growth and development throughout the story, as opposed to building it via a long backstory. Both approaches are done to perfection, and they are the reason that I love the Straw Hat Pirates so much. That entire part of the cast is simply beautifully written by Oda. Like I said though, what Oda does so well when writing the Straw Hats is something that I also think he fails to do for other characters in the story, especially for characters that are specific to each arc. The Straw Hat's writing is very efficient and impactful, which is made a lot easier by the fact that it can be fleshed out across the entire story. However, I find that some characters that are important to only one specific arc are much less efficiently written and can have unnecessarily long drawn out flashbacks to cram in all of the context and development. It's definitely not all the time, and sometimes it's done extremely well with the likes of Law, Kuma and Bonnie, but occasionally it does feel as though flashbacks and backstories are a rushed way of convincing you to care for a character, which is a process that should not be rushed. The best examples of this, in my opinion, are Queen Otohime, Hody Jones, and just Fishman Island in general. The one example that always comes to mind though is the backstories which are explained throughout the Wano arc. Now don't get me wrong, I care for most of the characters in Wano that got backstories, and I also did like the backstory itself, especially Odin's. However, there was so much context given for literally every single character involved in the Wano arc that it felt as if Oda was literally writing a whole new manga within the current manga. Now in my opinion, there was two sides to Wano. The story of the Straw Hats, the Heart Pirates, and the Kid Pirates all proving their worth by conquering two Emperors of the Sea and freeing Wano, and then there is also the long and deep story of Wano's people, Kuzuki Odin, Odin Samurai, Momonosuke, and the Smile Fruits. There was just so many characters and so many moving parts that it felt very disjointed and hard to follow at times, especially in the anime where they like to make it even more drawn out and longer than it needs to be. Basically, everything in Wano is very good, and they are all stories I'm interested in, but the execution was very messy. In my opinion, the solution to this is either reduce the number of characters, like Odin's Samurai, or simply give us the necessary context and then make a full Wano history spin-off. By doing that, it wouldn't make the Wano arc feel as chaotic and disjointed as it was, but hey, that's just me. Most of the time though, Oda does a great job at making sure that you care for a character before he drops a backstory, instead of trying to get you to care with a backstory. The difference between these two approaches is so huge, and it's the reason that I think Gojo's backstory arc is actually one of the best executed backstories in all of anime. A backstory and a flashback should exist to add substance to a character that you already care for due to their actions in the present timeline. Oda absolutely nails this concept with my number one favorite One Piece character, Trafalgar D. Waterloo. Ace, Bonnie, Kuma, and Sanji are also great examples of where Oda nails this approach to building character development. Like I said, this video's only purpose is literally for me to just vocalize my initial thoughts on One Piece as a brief introductory video, hence why I'm not going too deep into anything. With my thoughts on the character work out of the way, I want to finish off by very briefly talking about the actual story of One Piece as a whole. It's very simple. One Piece is geniusly deceptive. I went into it expecting a simple enough story about a boy and his crew who go on an adventure to become king of the pirates, but it goes so much deeper than I could have ever anticipated, which is very similar to my experience with Attack on Titan. I won't get into it too much to avoid spoilers, but Oda does an amazing job at diverting expectations and creating so much mystery in the world. All of the world world's history and secrets are built up so well, and then Oda ties everything together perfectly, which I think the recent Egghead arc has very clearly demonstrated. So for anybody out there who is watching this video wondering whether they should read or watch One Piece, just know that there is so much more depth and mystery to the whole story than you could possibly expect. The foreshadowing and parallels drawn by Oda are also top tier. It's honestly just incredible all round. My honest advice for anyone wondering if they should finally watch it though is just wait for Wit Studios' remake. It will compress 1100 episodes into only 263, along with modern animation and just generally fixing everything wrong with the current adaptation. One Piece genuinely has peak potential, and I trust that Wit Studio will bring that to light. Now remember, this video was just meant to be me letting you know my initial thoughts after catching up on One Piece. I may not have explored anything too deeply here, but after this video goes out, I will be getting properly into it with some detailed analysis, crackpot theories, chapter reviews, and some cool new video ideas that I have too. So if you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe, feel free to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will definitely see you soon with some more One Piece content.